Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome to the New World, which, somewhat disappointingly, looks an awful lot like the Old World. But as I'm sure you can tell already, this is the New World, the upcoming MMORPG created by Amazon. A game that I've been kind of low-key interested in for quite some time because the idea of an MMORPG created by a company with literally infinite resources, I mean, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? That sounds like they can come up with something truly unique, massive, and interesting. But I'm not entirely convinced they've succeeded with that, frankly. This is, of course, the closed, quote-unquote, beta that you will gain access to if you decide to purchase the deluxe edition of the game, currently available for pre-order. So let's talk a little bit about it, shall we? With, again, of course, the caveat that this is the closed beta. There will undoubtedly be some changes, some balance fixes, some tuning, testing, etc. over the course of the coming month or so before the game finally hits release. For example, one of the most common problems recently is that the starting zone in Monarch's Bluff, this area round about here, no monsters would actually spawn there. Which led to some rather interesting stuff in chat where people were constantly asking, where are the drowned dead? Where is the accursed whatever the hell in the cave? Where are the monsters? And being told again and again, they're simply not there, or look harder if somebody was feeling a little bit funny at the time. Some of the things that are currently in are occasionally certain objects won't load in. There's a dead tree out here, for example, that I can't see, or at least I couldn't see it a while ago. Some non-functional resource nodes, stuff like that. Nothing major. I've only actually had one proper hard crash, or, well, I say nothing major. Some people have had their graphic cards fried by the game. Apparently due to a faulty driver, it appears, where the menu screen would simply just continue to pile on the frame rate, or something, is the rumor I've heard, until eventually it got so high that it would start melting the graphic card. Whoopsie doopsie. But gameplay-wise, it's pretty darn solid, and it runs, I mean, pretty damn buttery smooth. There is the occasional pinch of lag, but I am playing on the US servers, that is to be expected, and even then is very rare for me. The recording software also seems to be picking it up quite nicely. A tiny bit of frame rate loss, but such is to be recommended. Now, what is the game actually about? That's a question I've kind of struggled with myself. There is, of course, a story, quote-unquote, with quests and everything, and various documents scattered throughout the world that fluffs it out a little bit, but man, it has completely and utterly failed to capture my interest. I am so just meh at the entire world, frankly, because it looks boring. Now, there are some differences, absolutely. For example, this is more of a European-style area right here. Whereas if I were to go down south to the coastal area, for example, which I'll do later on, it'll be far more tropical. But it's all just kinda, basic human-style environments with trees and stuff and greenery, the occasional stone monolith to interrupt the tedium. There's very little interesting. The world itself is, and here's the thing too, for being a new world, man, they've built it up damn well, haven't they? There are massive settlements and even fortresses all over the map. Like, any sensation of this being brave, new, unexplored terrain is completely lost, as it's scattered with villages and farms and cities and settlements and bloody fishing spots. Like, the people here have been here for so long, they've established bloody fishing spots. Like, oh yes, you can fetch trout easy here and so on. And to an extent, I'm kind of guilty of having built up my own expectations here, because at first I thought that this would be kind of a You are conquistadors. You arrive on the coast of America. It's an unexplored continent. You push deeper inland where you will experience lots of, Aztec and Indian mythology. Wendigos, Quetzalcoatl, human sacrifice, native populaces, all kinds of crazy mythological shit. And no, that's not it at all. The mythological element in the game is zombies, basically. Your primary enemies are dogs, pigs, zombies, and occasionally bat people, and that's about it. It's kind of sad. Now, what the game does do incredibly well is the crafting system. The crafting system is really, 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 really damn solid. Let me craft up a little bit of stuff here. For example, I'll pop in a little bit of charcoal here. Then we'll move on to some of the iron ingots I've got stored away. This all gives you experience as well, by the way, and it also gives you experience in the path. So as I smelt a ton of iron, I eventually get access to smelting steel, for example. I need a intermediate resource there, in this case sand flux, so I can make some steel bars as well. And over the course of the game, of course, you'll unlock other resources as well, like silver, for example, which can be used to make jewelry. And jewelry, too, is a bit more complex than just jewelry. Eventually you'll get gold, void bent ingots, star metal ingots, the fantasy nonsense as per usual. There's actually an entire craft called jewelry, where you not only need to find gems to place in the jewelry, you also need to create the various component parts. For example, you need to create the chain, the silver chain, or a gold chain. Then you need to create the thing that the actual jewel sits in. I don't remember what it's called. Remember what it's called, English. There's alchemy, there's woodworking, there's gunsmithing, there's bowery, there's quite a lot of weapons as well. And the best part is the weapons come with various masteries, which you can change out on the fly, as you can invest your points in it as well. For example, the spear here. Currently I've got 3 abilities equipped. You can only have 3, which is a little disappointing, but it makes for a decent rotation. I can throw the spear. I really love that animation, by the way. And the sound design, too. I'm going to say a lot of kind of meta-negative things about this game, but the sound design is fantastic. I mean, the sound of that spear as you throw it up into the air and catch it, excellent. You can spin around like crazy, thrust forward to cause bleed effects, throwing the spear, of course, and you've also got guns, where you can, overload the gun with gunpowder to blow out the barrel, should you so choose. You can take a firing stance to fire rapidly, you can even go prone, etc. PvP, too, is a major aspect of the game. There's a lot of stuff like this to do. A lot of crafting, a lot of items you can make. Let's see, I've got some steel gathered, and the best part too is you can deposit the resources in a city-wide storage area where you can then draw from. For example, I'm not currently carrying any coarse leather on me, but that's fine because it's in my storage, so I can just pop out an iron gauntlet right here, for example, and there we are. And then you level up your skills to eventually get access to the steel weaponry. To do that, you also do need a variety of resources, and you need to level up your ability to acquire those resources. For example, right there, you can see that I only have like 1 piece of linen. Okay, well, what is linen produced from? Linen is produced from fibers. How do you get fibers? Well, that's a cool little thing as well. The game doesn't actually tell you outright immediately. You get linen from fiber. Okay, but where do you get fiber from? If you open the map screen, you will actually see a resource location legend that tells you that in forests, you find trees, hemp, and herbs. Alright, fibers derived from hemp plants. But if I zoom in, that's all. Like, it says it's in forest. Okay, this is a forest, but hemp does not grow in this forest. Not a single hemp plant to be found here. Things are found in particular areas of the map. For example, hemp plants, you can find a little bit of hemp here, you can find a little bit of hemp here, a little bit of hemp here, in this general area. What about saltpeter for ammunition, for example? I don't even think that's on the legend here. It can be found in caves, and it will tell you that via tooltip menus, but again, not all caves. This cave, there's silver there, but there's no saltpeter. This cave, same, silver, but no saltpeter. If you want saltpeter, you've got to go all the way to this cave over here, the Offal Grotto. That is a cool little system, I think. And it drives, of course, a player-made economy. There are basically no vendors in the game. Everything is sold and created by players. If you want more ammunition, for example, and you don't know where the saltpeter is because the game doesn't tell you, you're going to have to go and buy ammunition. And I've actually been making a little bit of a killing on that market. I still have some iron cartridges left to sell, a tiny bit of iron arrows, but I have been making a lot of money just selling ammunition. Simply because people don't really know where all of this is, or they can't be bothered to actually go find it or build it for themselves. The crafting aspect of the game is absolutely the best part of it, and no doubt about it, frankly. If you're looking for Ark, basically, but without the dinosaurs for some reason, this game's got you covered. It absolutely does. And I suspect that the primary element of like the single player experience here is very much so going to be that crafting element. You go out into the woods and you start chopping down some trees. And again, let me just let you listen to the chopping sounds for a little bit. I mean, that is actually excellent. The sound design is fantastic. Let me find some... I believe there's usually an iron ore deposit over here, unless somebody's pilfered it from me. No, perhaps not. There we go. Listen to this. You even have that explosive, like, bang effect of hitting something hard with an iron pickaxe. Oh, and you can hear it in the distance too. Other people beating away at their rocks, mining for various resources. It is quite genuinely excellent. The sound design is fantastic. And when people are fighting in the distance too, the sound of distant echoing gunfire, brilliant. Really, really genuinely quite brilliant. The combat sounds, well, it's got the best sounding gun sounds I think I've had in any MMO, which is kind of hollow praise, but let's pick on this Grey Wolf here. And that's really good, isn't it? Like, that is really good sound design. The skinning, nothing special, but oh well. Also, I think this is some kind of like matchlock musket or something. You can wheel lock perhaps? Yes, I think it's a wheel lock, and you're using cartridges instead of actual powder, etc. It's all in the cartridge, so you essentially got a bolt action rifle here, which seems a little bit overly technologically advanced considering the era, but oh well, details. There are a ton of crafting resources as well. There's obviously the good old-fashioned ones, iron, wood, branches, green wood, hardened wood, stone, flint that you can just pick off the ground. But there are also alchemical resources, like special little flowers scattered throughout the world. Some of them are also very visually interesting. Let me see, are there any cool flowers in this area? I do have a little bit of a gathering skill, so I can, if you look at the top of the screen, you will see that it's showing me that there's a rabbit in front of me, and indeed, there it is. And that is because of my skinning skill, allowing me to actually track small game. You can also see an icon right in front of me, which I believe to be nuts. Let's see, where are the nuts? Where are the nuts? Where are the nuts? And the nuts are supposed to be right here. Did you lie to me, game? Did you lie to me? Where are the nuts? There are the nuts. Damn. Kind of difficult to spot, right? But there we are. Nuts. There are also things like motes scattered around, little flying flappy creatures, which give you items for... Oh, that was quite the little screen lag there, which gives you item uses for high-level alchemy or for jewel crafting. It has a really extensive and pretty damn awesome resource gathering and crafting game. But here's the thing, if you're intending to play this game single player, I imagine you'll run into some annoying issues, frankly, because a lot of this is focused around doing it in pairs. You can see that my mining skill is currently 57. That's not actually a whole lot. You need 50 skills just to chop down a mature tree. Never mind some of the actual fancy wood that you'll run into later. And you need to chop down hundreds of trees to level it up to the point where you can do that. It seems to encourage a degree of specialization within a company, a clan, a guild essentially, where one person is a miner, one is a sower or a hemp harvester, etc., and they specialize on certain things so that you can gain access to it earlier. Now, you can gain access to absolutely everything if you want to, it's just going to take you a very, 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 very long time. The young trees and the old trees are identical to one another, which is mildly annoying, okay, by the way. But I can chop down this, but the bigger ones, if there's any one of them around here, will actually require level 50, and I'm only like 33, I think it was. Young tree, young tree, young tree. Well, they don't seem to be wanting to demonstrate that right now. Oh, there we go, a mature tree, there you see. Required logging skill 50. So you gotta grind a bit before you get to that point, which, you know, fair enough, all MMOs have grind. But if you're playing this as just a single player, right? You're playing it by yourself, not with any group of friends or a clan, and maybe you don't even intend to join any. The crafting game's kind of all there is to it, because as I mentioned, the actual storytelling aspect of it is really not very interesting at all. It's a mystical, nonsensical bullshit island in the middle of nowhere where nobody dies, except sometimes they do die and turn into bloody zombies because... And that's the mystery you need to figure out. And with everything being kind of similar, like, the world is just really boring, and that's a real shame as well, because this is a real missed opportunity. When you first spawn, you are sent into a ship graveyard where you see cogs and Viking longships and triremes and shit. Imagine if you came to this island and there were factions of Spanish or conquistadors, of literal Romans with scutums wielding flintlock pistols, for example, or Englishmen that favored long spears, their unique armor, etc. Imagine all of the different cultures, all of the different architectural styles, the different weapons, the different clothing you could have had. And instead, all you get is, you know, Renaissance Spanish nonsense. That is a real missed opportunity. And as for the questing system, there are story quests, but there's relatively few of them, and again, they're rather uninteresting. The main quests you will be getting is stuff like faction quests. For example, I can choose to accept these faction quests right here. There's an upcoming war on the way, by the way. It's a lot of PvP focus, which is quite cool, but most of it, again, is focused towards clans and groups, leaving the single-player experience feeling kind of meh. Like, okay, you're gonna go out and PvP by yourself, are you? Good luck, as you get jumped by 13 people in a raid group to pound your ass into the dirt as they're heading towards a fortress. You can do it, but it's gonna be a lot of frustration. Particularly also as you have to flag for PvP very deliberately. You have to be in a city, flag yourself, and then go out specifically seeking PvP, which means that all the PvP you're going to be running into is prepared PvP. In other words, groups of people doing PvP. Would not recommend doing that solo, but there's single-player PvE quests here. So, the Covenant must fight against the tide of darkness emanating from Norma. Right, cool, I'll pick that up, I'll pick these up, pick all of these up, and you will gain resources from it. You'll gain reputation with the faction, you'll gain tokens, which you can use to purchase rewards from the faction, you will get coins, money, you will get territorial standing, and you will get XP. Territorial standing, by the way, is a really cool mechanic. I can go up here, and I'm currently in Everfall. I can currently upgrade to house ownership, which is really cool. My other bonuses are things like trading tax, so it's cheaper for me to make stuff in a city. Increased storage, decreased station fees, or even increased leveling speed. It does really succeed in giving you a relationship with the area that you have chosen to reside in, which again, is such a missed opportunity. The game does just such a good job of kind of tying you to a spot and giving you reasons to stay there, to work there, to build up a little bit of community in that area, and yet the areas are so bloody boring. Not a fan of that. You also got the Town quest board over here, which includes crafting quests, which is really, really cool. Acquiring and delivering coarse leather, exploring and finding specific things, hunting goats, acquiring and delivering travel rations. All kinds of cool shit like this. In fact, I've got travel rations, I've got the coarse leather, so I'm just going to hand them in now. There you go. And you see, I gain an absolute load of experience. If you're just doing the story quest, it's going to be really boring, because there's going to be a quest all the way up there. Like, that's a 10-minute walk. You walk up there, you kill some boring-ass zombie NPCs, then you walk all the way back again, and you've used 30 minutes, and all you've really done is go to a place, do a thing, and walk back again to see the bar rise. Like, there's nothing interesting about it. It's not story-based. It's not fascinating. You never feel like you're exploring a new world. That's my primary problem in this game. It all feels so European meh-y. Even when you go to a different area. Let me fast travel down to a more interesting place down here. Down to this settlement, for example. You can fast travel to settlements using a blue resource, which I'll call it, which you gain from questing, killing certain mobs like the does, for example, which are a bit more difficult to kill, but, doable. But you can also use to, again, enhance crafting. The crafting system is, again, very, 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 very good. But, right, we were in a kind of like autumny, European-style, medieval, foresty kind of setting, right? Now we're going to go to the southern part of the map, and now we've got a more Caribbean feel, like stuff's really overgrown, and there's massive ships in the middle of the settlement, and you go outside and there are palm trees and stuff. Like, this is better. This is some variety, but you can see it's the exact same city hall. It's actually the exact same layout of the central area. You've got the inn there, you've got the trade post there, you've got the well in the center, and you've got all of the trading stuff in more or less the exact same places as well. Like, the city layout is not identical, but it's very, very, very similar. Very similar. I wish they'd done so much more with the aesthetic of the game. More drastical changes, more of an interesting scenario, and more of an interesting set piece. Even the kind of alien structures. Let's have ourselves a little bit of an auto run over to this area here, shall we? Which I believe is, yes, it's a starting zone. Even the new worldy kind of structures, like this one over here, that's supposed to make you go like, ooh, it's a new and interesting, exciting place. Oh, it's something cool. It's just a giant stone bridge. Okay. I mean, fascinating, I guess. How did the local zombies build this crap? There's gonna be some contrived, nonsensical excuse, of course, but I don't know. Granted, though, again, I'm coming from this from a person who is expecting far more fantasy, shall we say. Something more immediately visually impressive and interesting to feast my eyes upon. I'm kind of looking for an MMO with a bit more of a world, a bit more of a solid background to it all. And this kind of isn't really is. Let me show you some of the zombies you'll be fighting as well. The primary difference between the various zombies is the color they glow too, which is not exactly super inspired. There we go. Tutteleri, hi. Well, that was sudden, but sure, why not? This is as good a time as any to show up the combat system. You've got dodge rolls, you've got directional attacks. You got the throw there to knock him down. The spawn rate varies from way too goddamn slow to hilariously fast. This currently being, of course, on the hilariously fast end. Holy crap. I'm gonna have to... Oh, that was not the correct key. That was the... aimbotty AI, of course, so if you try to disengage from combat, you're gonna get shot to pieces more often than not. The AI does also shoot through each other, so if you get ganged up on, you're gonna have a pretty bad time, frankly. Though some weapons are far better for AoE practices than others. The combat system is fairly robust, everything considered. Let's light you up. 5, and then we'll switch over to spear to put you down. Oh, you're friendly. Okay, fine. The combat system encourages you to dodge roll actively, to block, to use it... Oh, there you go. And also, of course, to use your weapon's special abilities often as well. See, he used a leapy, jumpy, stabby, kind of kicky thing there. Not PvP Flight. I am aware of that game. I wasn't actually trying to hit him. Calm down. The lack of abilities is a little disappointing, though. Only having 3, and in many cases also not having all of them available to you. For example, I can't overcharge my... I really dislike the fact that so many of the enemies seem to have some kind of bullshit ranged attack too, by the way. Like, that's a cooldown ability for me, and he says, yep, I can pretty much just use this however much I want, forever and ever. At least he is kind of a boss, so I suppose that makes up for it. You don't expend any stamina whilst you're attacking, incidentally, so spamming out the attacks a little bit is absolutely a thing you can do. It can also break apart enemies' blocks. They do also have special attacks, like you can see them trying to do that. The enemy AI is remarkably simplistic. You can often end up in situations where you can literally see the enemy carrying out, like you're fighting 2 enemies and they're attacking in the precise same fashion, using the exact same cooldown attacks at the exact same time. This is not particularly organic. They don't have access to a whole lot of attacks, basically. As for PvP, the system is alright. I imagine, bearing in mind my limited experience, of course, being only like level 18, etc., that it's going to be heavily focused on knockdowns and crowd control, for the simple reason that there's not really a sprint button in the game, which means that if you want to run away from an enemy, you just kind of turn around and, well, run. And that's it. There you go. You're moving at the exact same speed as the opposition, so they will never catch you unless you let them catch you. Don't do the jumpy thing. I said don't do the jumpy thing, you damn bastard. Stab, stab, stab. And spinny thing. Oh god, that's a bit many of them, isn't it? Luckily, healing potions are relatively cheap and easy to come by, so you can use them fairly actively in PvE and PvP, which is nice. PvP, incidentally, again, you need to flag for it, and you need to flag for it specifically in a sanctuary area. Otherwise, you cannot attack other people, so there's no surprise PvP, which again can be a problem because it means PvP is almost exclusively the domain of groups and entire guilds. Now this can be really cool, as I remember I had some really interesting running skirmishes up by the fort around here, which was really a lot of fun. Constant back and forth shooting, binging, banging, booming, running, fleeing, getting into a group, owning a bunch of enemies, and then getting overrun by a much larger groups of enemies, and so the tables turn. It kind of reminded me of like super early vanilla World of Warcraft skirmishing, where every night there would be hordes of Alliance and literal horde rushing back and forth to kill one another in the Barrens and the Night Elf area around there. Really, really fun. But again, I don't think it's it will not be a very good single player experience. You're gonna want at least one friend before you start engaging in that. At least. And even then, prepare to get gangbanged frequently and violently. It could certainly wear away at morale a little bit. There are also some PvE content in the form of dungeons and instances, though they seem to be relatively rare. The first one in the game comes in at level 20, which, having leveled not quickly, quite fairly slowly actually, through here, because if you want to level quick, you just get all of the town quests, you get all of the faction quests, and all of the available quests, and you hammer them all out. Hiccups, I swallowed my own breath there. And you hammer them all in simultaneously for an absolute load of experience, which could allow you to level fairly quickly if you know what you're doing. Of course, you want to do a little bit of crafting along the side as well, because you want to make sure that you are leveling up both your level and your crafting. Take a little bit of honey, because why not? Honey is delicious, after all. I feel like this is a game that will do very well, particularly amongst MMO aficionados, shall we say. Those who have guilds, those who have groups, or those who just have a lot of interest in crafting. If you are looking for a more single-player friendly MMO experience, however, I don't think this is it, frankly. The world, at least to me, is really kind of boring and soulless. It's just there's not a whole lot of cool stuff. And bearing in mind, I've only seen, up until the areas that are available right now. You can see that there are paths further up the map. Perhaps there's lots of really cool shit there. Maybe, it's entirely possible. But I doubt it. I really kind of do. Because you can already see level cap content in this area, level 65. So how much more will be beyond that? I don't know. Maybe future content, expansions or updates, for example. Maybe they will actually add in some radically different factions further down the line. Potentially, but the game looks kinda small to me. Like, level 45 is up here, and level 20 is here. So you've got, like, 2 or 3 zones, and then you're at max level content? Okay, I mean, I suppose. It all seems a little quick, doesn't it? I'm not sure. I'm very much so kind of vacillating back and forth about whether or not I want to play it at launch, because the crafting aspect really appeals to me. It really, really, really appeals to me. The idea of living in these little cities, having a little player home in them, building up your faction reputation, doing lots of crafting, making cool, interesting gear, maybe running a few dungeons with friends, etc. This all does sound interesting, but at the same time, that's the thing. I am excited about mechanics, purely the mechanical aspect of it. The world itself, the soul, the spirit of the game, the backstory, I'm just not interested in the slightest. Even a giant pirate ship in a settlement, and all I can do is really look at it and go like, that's something, I guess, Indeed. The character design, too, is very inclusive. This excuse me, is the least awful looking character I managed to end up making. It is, of course, one of those where you can have male portraits on your female characters and vice versa because, reasons. And there are no genders in the game, obviously, that are merely body shapes. A mixed review for me at the moment. It's definitely a solid project with a lot of polish, just not a whole lot of soul, to put it like that. Anywho, you should make up your own opinions about it. It'll be releasing in, I think, about a month. Look around the internet. There should be plenty of footage for you to peruse, and think about it. Like, are you more of a solo player? In which case, maybe not. But if you have a group, if you've got friends that you maybe played games like Ark or Conan survival nonsense with, you probably will enjoy this title. Until next time, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Until then, have a good day.